And welcome everyone. We are live from Budapest. Let me know in the chat that you can hear me properly. If you've just randomly clicked on this video, you don't know what you're watching, this is a live stream. So I'm live from the streets of Budapest and we've got about 10 minutes to go. We're just waiting for everyone to connect. So if any of you are watching the replay in the next few months or days, if you want to skip the hellos and go straight into the live walking tour, feel free to skip the next 10 minutes. You can hear and see me well. Thank you, Tish. Welcome, Martin, and welcome everyone. Welcome, Herbie. Welcome everyone that just joined. Hi, Linda. Nice to see you here as well. You know the drill. I'm going to have to test the microphone. So I'm going to tap the microphone 3 times. Let me know if you've heard a triple tap. You should have been able to hear that. If not, I might have a little bit of dust in the connections. So we've got a few minutes to go. Again, anyone watching the replay, feel free to skip a few minutes. Perfect, you've heard it. Thank you, Catherine. So today it is a live stream. Most of you know the drill. We are walking along the streets live. If you were watching the replay in the next few weeks or months, because of course it's live, we are subject to signal faults sometimes. So if you're watching the replay and you have some micro cuts sometimes, it's because the signal would have dropped for a few seconds or a minute or whatever. Hopefully it won't happen. Hopefully the gods of the internet will be with us today. But just so you know. Pakistan, welcome Aziz. So we've got a few minutes to go. We're just waiting for everyone to connect. So as most of you know, I'm not from here, so I don't know everything. But I'll try to tell you the little snippets of history I've learned along the way, as well as the true crimes I find fascinating. So brace yourself, it's worse than London. Well, technically it's not. Budapest is a very safe city. I had to dig up quite deep to find those murder stories. And some of them are not even in Budapest. I'll tell you a few murders that are actually in the countryside. Usually I like to do those live stream and be on the spot, but sometimes when you have only a few hours to discover the place and to prepare, it's not always possible. Right, let me gracefully stand up and we'll head towards where I actually wanted to start the tour. I was only sitting there because it's fairly well lit and away from the background noises. But let me flip this camera around for a sec and we'll walk to the top of the street. In this area, it seems to be an antique dealer area. There are a lot of antiques dealers on that street. But that's not why we're here. We're here because there are a few interesting statues as well as a murder location. You see, we've got the trams. There's a great network of trams in Budapest. Right, let's see what time it is. We've got about 5 minutes to go, guys. 5 minutes. If you happen to be new, you're very welcome. Let us know in the chat and let us know where you're tuning from. And if any of you are watching the replay and you're wondering, how do you join the live? Why do you always end up watching the replays? The best way to join the live, it's to hit the little notification bell and ask to be notified for everything. So you'll get a notification when I go live. Interesting question. Linda is asking, am I in Buda or in Pest? I'm in Pest. I will see Buda because we'll go down the riverside, but we are in Pest at the moment. So of course, Buda and Pest used to be 2 different cities. they've been linked in, I think, in the 1870s, really, so not that long ago. Oh, Pisas, did you get an answer from YouTube already, or did you ask ChatGPT? The numbers have been added, so you don't have to, yeah, for people that have a name that might be repeated, it makes sense. They could have let you choose the numbers. It would be nice. Well, actually, no, because a lot of people would put their date of birth, and very often you've got the names that have fashions, so you might have a lot of names with the same year of birth, so I guess it wouldn't work. And good evening, Lee. Welcome anyone that just joined. We still have a few minutes before we go. Let's see what time it is. Yeah, 3 minutes to be precise. So I've only been here for, less than 24 hours. I arrived last night because I had the dentist today, and I'm going away at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I'm jumping on a bus to Slovenia. Oh yeah, you've been here with Olga. Nice. Yeah, I've been here quite a few times myself because my annual check at the dentist, it's free over here. Oh, you asked Google AI, okay. And I came here to do a new night guard as well, because I am a grinder, and if I don't sleep with that piece of plastic in my mouth, I destroy my own smile. Am I going to more cities in Hungary? No, I'm not, Svet. I have been in the past. I've been to Esztergom. I think it's at the border with Slovakia, and I've been to what is it called? It starts with a S. It's on the lake. Anyway, I'm not doing any other cities on this trip now. I'm going to Slovenia instead because it's only 6 hours only it is 6 hours away on a bus, and I've never been. The first anatomy act. That's original. Right, let's see what time it is. 1 minute to go. Oh, thank you, Bisbet. That's very much appreciated. And welcome, Nefarious Enough. That's a cool name. Where are you joining from, Nefarious? See, when you are called Nefarious Enough, you don't have a number after your name. Everyone else got a new. I mean, the more common names got a new number. You don't need one. There are no others until now. Right, let me see, is it time? Yes, it is officially 7 p.m. here in Budapest. It is officially time to start. Welcome everyone, and without further ado, let me flip this camera around. And I am here because I wanted to show you a couple of statues. Well, 3 in total, but one you might recognize for sure. Actually, I'm gonna ask you to see if you can recognize him. Apologies, it's a bit dark. It's not very well lit. Do you know who that might be? You all know him. He's not like an obscure Hungarian doctor. No, it's someone you all know. He is here with a little doggy, but I think the dog might confuse you. Don't don't give too much attention to the doggy, because that might. Edgar Allan Poe. No, I could see the resemblance, Tish, but no, it's not Poe. No, well, you've got the same Herbie. I can see why, but no. All of you know him. I would argue that maybe not all of you know Poe. This one you all know him, unless maybe if you're younger than me, because I know him, but I never really watched him. If that makes sense. My mum would. Oh, Tariq, you got Poe as well? No. If you want more clues, I'll give you more clues. He's wearing a beige long coat. Obviously, he's scratching his head. I'll give you a clue. He's not from here. He's from Los Angeles, I think. The doggy, don't worry too much about the doggy. The doggy is called Franzi. The doggy is actually a local doggy. He actually came for the unveiling of the statue, the doggy. But if you look too much at the doggy, that'll confuse you. It's not his doggy. Exactly, Alice. Well done, well done. It is Colombo. Well done, Catherine. It is indeed Colombo. We don't actually know for sure why he ended up here. It's a bit random, to be honest. Some say that it's because the street is named after some 19th century politician that was called Falk Miska, and what's the actor? Peter Falk. Is it Peter? Yeah, Peter Falk may have some connection. He might be a descendant of the guy the street is named after. But apparently there's absolutely no evidence of that. But well done, guys, because I would have never guessed. I actually had to take a picture of him to upload it on Google to find out who he was. Because there's no little plaque or anything. So it is indeed representing Peter Falk. It's been here since 2014, when the actor died in 2011, I think. So it's not even to celebrate his life, and yeah, the doggy is just there keeping him company, but it's not his doggy. Tish, you love the randomness? Well, let me show you another statue, even more random. This is like, what? When I saw it this morning, I was like, WTF? I'll show you. It may be a bit dark. Let me get my second phone to show you, to get the torch out. And because I don't know if you can see exactly what it is right now, but it is a dead squirrel. I know, it's a mini bronze. Let me show you. Sorry, I want to show you my shoes. So you see, it's about the size of my feet. Mini bronze, well hidden over here. Actually, you could trip on it. Very, very random. Some say that might be what Colombo is going to be investigating. You know, this potential murder, or is it a murder, or is it a case of the squirrel having enough of this life? Who knows? Did Colombo have a dog on his TV series? Did he? Maybe, but that's definitely not Colombo's dog. That's a local dog. His name is Franzi, or at least that's what they said on the internet. So yeah, I never actually watched Colombo. I know it would have been in France when I was a child. My mum would watch it. I think it's been broadcasted in 44 different countries. But I mean, obviously I know the character, but I don't think I recall ever watching a full episode. I guess I was a bit young, but some people still love him today. Now let's go and show you a murder location. Not one for Colombo. That was a murder that was way too easy. There was no mystery. But I'll show you. This is a little lovely little bistro pub there. I was in there earlier. I had a goulash. Let me show you my goulash. There we go. Lovely goulash. And that's like £5 at least, I think. Oops, sorry. Let me remove my goulash. And let's go down to the murder location. Oh, you never watched it either? Cool. This interesting looking door over here, it's a bit Art Deco. There's not much to see from the outside, really. I have seen some pictures of the inside. It's quite beautiful inside. It's a lovely Art Deco building. But guess what? It is the site of a murder. The building, I think it dates back to 1912. Sadly, through the Second World War, Hungary was on the dark side. They had lost a lot of territory with the First World War. I mean, Hungary used to be a much, much bigger country. And with the Second World War, Hitler had promised them to get all their territories back. So anyway, they were with the Axis. And that very building I've just shown you, it became what they call the Yellow Star property. That's a property where they forced some Jewish community to go and live for a few weeks before to be sent into a camp or wherever that might be. And so yeah, quite sad. And some of the people that lived inside, they were asked to go, and they'll be offered some much better properties that had been confiscated from people in the camps. And actually, there was an actress that lived inside, Margaret. I don't know who she is. She was a local Hungarian actress. She refused to go. She was offered a huge villa in Buda on the other side, but she refused to go. She decided to stay, and she was bringing some food to the local Jewish in the building, as well as sometimes fake papers to help them to escape. So a lovely lady. Anyway, she's not the one murdered, luckily. The murder was a year after the war. In 1945, there was a young man, I think he was a window cleaner or something. At the time, well, still today, there are a lot of lawyers or doctors. It's quite a fancy building. So there was a lawyer inside. The young man knocked at the door. The lawyer opened, and then he got out a gun, and he demanded the lawyer gave him some money. Welcome Samantha, and welcome everyone that just joined. The lawyer refused, and he was shot in the stomach and died straight away. The young man escaped. I mean, he ran out on the street and then he shot himself, but he didn't kill himself. He was arrested and he was jailed. But yeah, that's a murder location. And quick stop here because I wanted to show you the letterboxes. Some of you might know I like my letterboxes. Well, at least I like the London ones. But those ones here in Budapest, they're very much elaborated. Look at all the little metal work everywhere. The legs as well, they're probably quite, or they probably were at the time, very expensive to produce. Anyway, let's go down towards the Parliament. Exactly a year ago, there was an American tourist that was murdered in Budapest as well. She, I think she was a nurse and a volunteer as well. She used to love going traveling abroad and even volunteering abroad. I think she was from Oregon, or at least she lived in Oregon in Portland. And she'd come here with her mate. She just finished a big relationship, like 6 years. So she she'd just broken up with her boyfriend and decided to have a little trip with her mate to think about something else. They went to Amsterdam, they went to Belgium, they finished here, and Mackenzie, I think her name was, she had been to Budapest before, you know, she knew a bit her way around, and her mate was going back home to America, and they had agreed that Mackenzie would stay one more day. It was her friend that had booked the Airbnb. And the next day, her friend received a notification from Airbnb saying, "You've not checked out." And she was like, "How?" So she tried to contact her friend, and she heard nothing back. So she contacted the authorities. They did manage to follow Mackenzie on CCTV. She had been to a bar, one of the most famous ones in the Jewish area, the Simplakert, I think it's called. They've got some amazing bars over here that they are in some kind of building that look a bit like squats, or they've been damaged, and now the deco is quite cool for a bar. Anyway, they followed her on CCTV. They noticed that she had met a man, and they saw them entering an apartment on camera. So the police, of course, knocked at the door. They found an Irishman, a 37 years old Irish guy, and he didn't deny meeting her. Well, they had it on camera anyway, but he claimed that it was a sex game and she had been tied up and it was an accident. They very quickly concluded that there was no way it was an accident because of his Google search history. They were like, it was quite clear that he did not make any attempt to save her. And he put her in a suitcase in Lake Balaton. Suffolk, that's where I've been. I was telling you earlier the cities I've visited over here. So yeah, I've been to Suffolk as well on Lake Balaton. It's about an hour, I think, on the train. Lovely lake, you can swim and everything. That was the first time I came to Budapest. I would have been at least 10 years ago now. Anyway, let's go and take a look at the beautiful parliament. And there is a tram as well. I like those trams. They're quite old, so they look cool. A bit like the ones in Portugal, Lisbon. Right, here is the beautiful parliament. It is even better looking in the evening than at daytime, I would say, because it's all lit up. I saw it from the plane last night on the aircraft. The weather was so clear. I saw all Vienna from above. I had no internet, so I didn't know where I was. So I was kind of zooming in on Google Maps on the different cities to check the geography. And I saw Vienna, and then I saw all Budapest from above. So I saw the parliament and the river and Buda Castle and the big wheel as well. So that was quite cool. Yeah, it is gorgeous. It is officially inspired by the one in London. It is also neo-Gothic. Sadly, the architect, his name is Irme Snidel, I don't know how to pronounce it. He became blind before the completion of the building, and then he died as well. But he never got to see his final work, which is a bit sad, really. I think you can visit it. They do some tours. I think I've never done it. I should really. I've been here so many times. I should go for a tour. That's where they keep the holy Hungarian crown jewels, with 2 soldiers guarding them. That's probably a better idea, not to do like the French and get them stolen from the Louvre. Well, although I don't know if paying for 2 soldiers 24/7 is a good idea either. Did you see the Louvre? It must be an inside job. They must have a contact inside, Whether the contact knew or they didn't know, that's a different story. It could have been a girlfriend that worked at the Louvre and that was maybe talking a bit too much, to her boyfriend in the evening. But apparently, I don't know if it's true, but I saw a headline a few days ago. Do you care to guess the password to access the CCTV camera, the in-house CCTV camera system in the Louvre? Guess what the password might have been? Let me know in the chat. I can tell you it's not very original. I don't know for sure if it is true, but that was the headline the other day. Yes, exactly. Louvre was the password. I mean, how stupid do you need to be? So yeah, they're a bit more careful over here with their crown jewels. To be honest, I don't really mind. I didn't even know France had any crown jewels left, so I won't be missing them. Yes, exactly. Open sesame. Cool. Let's go on the unexplored river. So, Hungary, it's part of the EU. But it's not part of the Schengen area, so they still control their borders. Well, they have quite a strong policy on immigration. Well, a certain type of immigration, let's say. They can be a little bit Islamophobic. But they do enjoy a good French immigration. They actually had invited the French racist a few years ago. Their former, I think he's the former one, Prime Minister Victor, might be still in power, I don't know. He had officially told people from France and Germany, if you don't recognize your values anymore, meaning the Christian values, do come to Hungary. And it worked. There are a few, not many, I think we're talking a few thousands, but there are a few French, what I would call ultra-Catho, those ultra-Catholic that feel that France has been invaded by Islam. Some of them have moved here. And, well, it's not a big loss for us. I saw a documentary about them a couple of years ago that was very interesting. Because it's probably not that easy to... I mean, Hungarian is so difficult to learn. It really doesn't look like any other language you might know. So for their kids to move here and have to learn Hungarian and stuff, just so most people have the same religion as them. Anyway, there's a gentleman on his horse there. He's a count. I didn't say any naughty words. I mean a count, like a countess, like an earl. I honestly don't know how to pronounce the difference. I guess it's all about context with me. So he's a count, he's dead. I don't know if he died in battle. There's a little myth. It's not true. I mean, it's most of the time it's wrong, but some say that when a statue of someone that might have been a warrior is on a horse, when the horse's leg or legs, they are two a bit up on this one, are up, then the person might have died in battle. Sometimes it is the case, but apparently it's really never been a rule. It's just a coincidence. Anyway, talking about counts and contesses, I think there's one contest. Some of you might be disappointed if I don't mention her today. Oh yes, Linda. Yeah, everyone speaks English. Yeah. Not everyone, of course, but yeah, it's very easy compared to many countries. Yeah. So yeah, there's one contest you probably expect me to talk about. It is, of course, the blood contest. We're talking about Elizabeth Bathory, or as she's known here, Argibet. Elizabeth, it's spelled, when they say it, it sounds like Argibet. So Argibet Bathory, she, let me show you another statue as we're here. Let's go down this way. She was, of course, I mean, some say the worst serial killer in history. It is a lady that was living here in the 16th century. She was, when I say here, at the time, Hungary was a much, much larger country than it is today. So the town where she was from, it's still in Hungary today, but the castle where she committed most of her crimes, it is now in Slovakia. This gentleman here is a Hungarian poet. Right, let's try to cross. Ooh, that's bright. Sorry, there's a bright lamp that's blinding me. Anyway. So yes, so Elizabeth, she was from an extremely rich family, and it is said that as a little girl she would have witnessed a terrific execution. A gypsy that had committed a crime, his method of execution was very cruel, even for the time, even for that period of history. They would have gutted a horse, a live horse, cut open, removed his internal organs, and then placed the criminal inside of the horse with his head coming out. But they basically sewn the horse belly back up with the criminal inside. And little Argibet, or Elizabeth, would have witnessed that. And I mean, that would be traumatizing for any child. I mean, even for the dead, it was such a horrific execution. So then they would have waited for them, both the horse and the criminal, to die. I mean, horrific. Anyway, then at the age of 15, she was married to a cousin. Very often they say a first cousin, and that's because of inbreeding, that she would have gone a bit mad and stuff. No, it was a distant cousin, and they were all inbred in Europe at the time. You know, the important people, and so they married. They had some kids, 5, but I think only 3 survived infancy. It is said that he might have been a bit abusing to her, and maybe already to their servants. But the truth is, the husband was most of the time at war. You know, at the time, the kingdom was very much always fighting the Ottomans, she didn't actually spend that much time with him because he was fighting. Well, it is true that he was, you know, I cannot say the T word, but, you know, whenever he was catching Ottoman enemies, he would have a way to make them suffer. He would tie them up, put some paper between their toes, and light up the paper, and watch their toes burn. So the husband might have been brutal. He died after fighting the Ottoman. She would have been 44 when he died. And Argibet, she lived in her castle in what is now Slovakia. And it is said that she was very, very violent with her staff. She had 4 staff that were quite close to her, 3 ladies and a man that was he was suffering from dwarfism, and they were accomplices to the act of violence. I don't want to say the T word, but you know what I mean. She would take a horrible pleasure mistreating the young ladies, beautiful young peasant ladies. She would get them naked and burn their pussy hair. I mean, you can imagine horrible violence. It is said that one day a young peasant was combing her hair, Argibet's hair, and at some point she pulled a bit too hard. And Argibet turned around and punched the lady in the nose. the young lady bled, and a single drop of blood landed on Argibet's hand. And then she noticed that very particular spot of skin became young again. She would have been amazed. And apparently after that day, she started to kill young virgins, and she would put them upside down after slitting their throat to get the blood and bathe in the blood to have a younger skin. And at the time, no one could question it because she was the landlady. 17 villages were in her property. Yes, a lot of young ladies went to work at the castle and they never came back. But what can you do against high society, you know? And it is said that she then got bored of killing servants. She got bored of killing the peasants. She wanted to kill nobility. So she created a school for girls. So the nobility would send their daughters to be entertained and taught, educated at the castle. Then she started to kill the nobility as well. Obviously, you know, the nobles, they were not that easy to trick, so some started to question it, it is said. And eventually, after she had killed 600, people don't agree, maybe between 80 and 600, it is said that then only people started to talk, and then only the authorities acted. The representative of the king, King Matthias II, he came to the castle, and as he opened the door, young ladies' dead bodies were there. She was caught red-handed. The 4 staff that were her accomplices were caught. They quickly confessed. They were executed on the spot. Terrible, terrible executions. Very violent death. And Argibet could not be tried, of course, because she was a noble. They would protect each other. So she was locked into her own castle and died. Well, 4 years later, she was locked into a tiny room. She never had a trial, you see, because you don't do that. You don't put high society in trial, do you? Well, geez, honey, let me tell you, it's all rubbish, according to me. But we'll get back to Argibet in a moment. For a second, let me show you the shoes on the Danube. It's a very little moving monument. It's going to be a bit dark. Let me get my other phone again to lit up the shoes. So sadly, through the Holocaust, a lot of Jewish people were lined up over here, and they were shot. They were gunned down. But at the time, shoes, of course, were very expensive, so they would have asked them to remove their shoes before to be gunned down and before their bodies ended up in the river. So it's a lovely little, very touching monument with 60 pairs of shoes to honor those people that lost their lives in such tragic circumstances. Right. Let me lift the camera up. So yeah, to get back to Argibet, personally, I mean, historians might disagree. It's still very much debatable today. There are a lot of peasants that have witnessed, and they did say that she was violent, and a lot of ladies disappeared, and there were a lot of testimony. Over 100, that's for sure, that is a fact. But according to me, it's all rubbish. Argibet was extremely rich. After her husband died, she was the richest lady in the country and the most powerful as well. And, you know, in the 16th century, no one really liked powerful ladies. And of course, you have to look at who benefited. Well, King Matthias, he had a huge debt because Argibet's husband, and he actually paid a lot of the Ottoman war. So the king had a great debt to Argibet's husband. That was no debt, so a debt to her. And because she was locked up and accused, he never paid it. And if you look at who benefited, it's the king, and the two main accusers, so that's Algibet's sons-in-law. So the daughters were married to two different rich families, and all our property, we're talking, I mean, I don't know, dozens of castles and villages, and it went to them. So personally, I think she was framed. I think that those three, mainly her sons-in-law and the king, they captured hundreds of villagers. They tortured them to get them to say whatever they wanted them to say. To say that yes, they've witnessed it. They saw the violence. They saw people going to the castle and never coming back. And of course, the four main witnesses, the ones that could have cleaned their reputation, the ones that were there at the castle or very faithful servants, well, they were executed very quickly, so they couldn't speak. So if there had been a trial, and why were there no trial? Because of course they didn't want to give her a chance to express herself and to clear her name. And the four people that were the witness anyway, the four people that could have said she was a nice lady, they were dead. They'd been killed. So she had absolutely no chance to clear her name. I think she was a lovely lady. She did great acts of charity. She had created one of the first girls' schools in Europe. And she also had a hospital in the castle. So obviously there were a few deaths. There was a hospital. What do you expect? She had also created some kind of an orphanage to get the kids from that were orphans from the Ottoman War. I mean, there's absolutely no evidence. Well, all the stuff about the blood on the Virgin, that was actually made up in the 18th century when they started to write about her. Of course, it is very sexy to have a lesbian, because the torture was sexual. It is said that her auntie, Countess Carla, was openly gay, and that's how she might have started. But it's very sexy to have a lesbian vampire almost killing. I mean, 600. Come on, So I don't believe any of it, especially the blood of the Virgin. Come on, I can completely believe of a lady psychopath, serial killer. She did suffer from some kind of maybe epilepsy. She had some fits, and she maybe suffered from some mental health issues. So I can completely believe the serial killer lesbian. Actually, I'm gonna tell you about a real serial killer lesbian in Hungary in a moment, but for me, it's the blood of the virgins. I mean, this is such a fantasy of people with testosterone. I don't think there's any lady that would ever fantasize about virgins. Personally, I could be wrong. Historians are still debating it today, but personally, I don't believe any of it. I think she was framed. I mean, because obviously she was so wealthy. And the king greatly benefited from it. And he also, not only did he not have to pay his debt back, but also his credibility for finally exposing even the... she may have been violent to some of the staff. It is very sad, but at the time that was the norm. It was quite common for people to beat their servants. That is possible. There might have been a few cases of badly treated staff, but that was all the nobles. There could be bases of something, but personally I don't believe she's killed anyone at all. Anyway, let me know what you think. I know there have been some great scary movies and everything, but if you go back to the fact, we really don't have anything against her, apart from all those testimonies, but they very, very probably have been done under torture. Oh shit, I need to stop saying that term. That's one of the terms that YouTube doesn't like. That could flag up the content. Anyway, this is the chain bridge there. I think that was actually the first long-term bridge in Budapest, 1849, but it was destroyed through the Second World War. Well, partially, but they had to redo it. It leads to the Buddha castle up there in Buda. And so they redid it, and it was finally reopened in 1949. So exactly 100 years after it was first opened. We won't see them, but there are some lions at the base of the bridge. It is said they have been inspired by the Trafalgar Square lions. Anyway, there might be a serial pusher on the bridge. Yes, you've heard this right, a serial pusher. 2008, there was a young French girl called Ophélie. She was an Erasmus, an exchange student in Budapest. She was from a very wealthy family in France. And she was very happy. Apparently she had just got some kind of an internship. So she was studying here, and she lived with the family of a doctor. And so they would give her some lodgings. She had some kind of a little cottage in the back garden. They lived on the other side, they lived on Buda. And she, in exchange for the lodgings, she would nanny the kids every so often when she wasn't studying. She was fairly happy. I need to check where I'm crossing. No, it's there. So she was fairly happy. I mean, apparently she had told her parents she wanted to stay longer. They were not massively excited about that, but yeah, she wanted to stay here. And she'd gone out for a party. That was the 4th of December. Here in Hungary, and I think in many countries in this area, the moon is still almost full. That's nice. They celebrate, St. Nicholas. So that's the 6th of December. You know what? Last time we did a tour here, so we're talking 2 years ago now, maybe 2.5 maybe. No, December, so that would be two years ago. And we saw some beautiful projection on the Saint Stephan Cathedral. Let me cross. Thank you. So we saw some beautiful projections. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think it might have been the 5th of December, so it might have been to celebrate St. Nicholas as well. Anyway, usually people around here, they'll go for drinks around the 4th or 5th or 6th to celebrate St. Nicholas. So she'd been for drinks in Pest, so down this side. Quite a few drinks, apparently. According to her friends, she had 7 beers and 7 shots. That's quite a lot. I mean, usually when you say 7 beers, you're talking about a pint. So that's a lot of alcohol. And she left on foot, which was a little bit unusual. She would usually take a taxi. She had money. She had a mini argument with an Italian guy called Pierre, that she was maybe not dating or maybe dating. We don't quite know, because she had a long-term fiancé in France. So she might have had a little bit of a romance, but not proper relationship. We don't know that. We can only speculate. And anyway, she was not seen again. The next day, she didn't go to pick up the kids at school, so the family, the host family, got a bit worried. And about 3 a.m. that night, 2 Italian boys had found a bag in on the bridge we've just seen. I'll show you again. So on the chain bridge down there, they found the bag, and they didn't do anything with it quite yet. The next day, though, they texted. So they found a random number in the girl's telephone. They texted that mate saying, "We've got our bag," and they went to give the bag to the friend. Why did they wait until the next afternoon? We don't know. maybe they were just drunk, or maybe they didn't want to stop their night out, or obviously they probably didn't think it was that important. And the police did everything they could. The police kind of believed she had jumped, that she would have taken her own life. Although she was a very good swimmer, almost like Olympic, very, very sporty swimmer. So it's a weird way to do it. If you're great at swimming, it's a weird way to do it, because chances are you might survive. She had no... you never really know what's happening in people's head, but she really didn't look like depressed. She had some good news and stuff like that. And that was it for a couple of months. And then eventually they found her body 40 kilometers downriver. So that would make sense that the body is going down. But it was up a little, don't really know how to describe it, up a little creek, a little port actually. So the last few meters she would have been completely against the current. That's very unusual, unless maybe the body was dragged by a boat or whatever it might be. And the body was only found because they were actually closing down this part of the port. So workers were putting sand to cover up this part. She was dressed as she would have been that night, so that would make sense. She had a bit of bruising on her leg, but it did look like the cause of death was drowning. So the police was still convinced she would have taken her own life. But the alcohol level in the body was not right. She was almost sober, when all her friends said she had had 7 beers and 7 shots. That made no sense. They could have been mistaken on a couple of drinks, but she was almost sober. So did she maybe die much later? It would have taken at least 12 hours to get rid of that alcohol. And also, how did the body go up the current? We still don't have an answer for that. There were 2 autopsies. There was one here, and the French family didn't quite trust the authorities here, so they had another autopsy in France, but the results were exactly the same. So to this day, we still don't know. The reason why I said there might be a serial pusher, it's that they found another body, another boy. That was an English guy this time, a little Daniel, that also went missing, and then his body was found 70 kilometers down, but again in a little way where the current was going the opposite, so there was no way he could have been there. So there might be a serial killer that place bodies downriver, or maybe a serial pusher. But because the authorities had looked for fingerprints on the bridge itself, and they concluded that it would have been very difficult for her to jump, so climbing on the barrier without touching anything. That would make sense, but the bridge is long. Did they really? Could they really not have missed a fingerprint? I'm not sure. But yeah, another very sad and interesting case. Anyway, straight ahead, that's Saint Stefan. Or I think in Hungarian it's István. It's István, I think, Stefan. Saint Stefan was he was a king over here 1,000 years ago. He's the first king that brought Catholicism to the country. That's why he's been canonized. And his hand, we were talking about thank you. The other day we were talking about Margaret Cliff Harrow's hand somewhere in York. Well, here his hand his mummified hand is in the church as well. So that's a little relic. Anyway, there's another interesting statue at the next corner, so I want to make sure we don't miss him, because he's also a favorite, and also very random. He's the fat policeman. It's not me being naughty calling him fat. He is called the Fat Policeman. That's the name of the statue. He should be here in the corner, so don't let me miss him. Now, I told you I was going to tell you about another lesbian sadistic killer. Well, this is not in Budapest. It's in a village about an hour from here. There's a lady called Piroshka Jansko. Actually, I've got her picture. Let me show you. This is little Piroshka. At the time of the murders, she would have been 19 years old. She was hanged at 20. We are in the 50s, so we're talking after World War II, at the time where the Soviets were ruling the show. And let me remove the photo. She definitely had a very, very bad start of life. Her mother was a sex worker. Her mother had come from a big family with about 16 children, and when she got into sex work, the family kind of denied her, and so she lived off sex work, and obviously there was no abortion or anything like that at the time. Right, let me show you. I'll get back to Piroshka. Let me show you the Fat Policeman before anyone gets in for a selfie. Here he is. He's wearing an old style uniform, and apparently it is good luck to touch his belly. The artist said he was inspired by his grandfather, so he's here to just to show you there's a bit of joy in everything, really, and that he loves his Hungarian food. Now, let me get back to Piroshka. So, her mother had 2 children, Piroshka and her little brother. They lived in a filthy house in a little village, and sadly, the little Piroshka was put into sex work herself about the age of 10. Oh, thank you, Rachel. That's very much appreciated. And she was a terrible child. Her mother said whenever they had a new pet, the pet was then nowhere to be seen. Did she kill them? Did she eat them? I mean, the mother doesn't know. And one day, Piroshka went to the shop. She met an 11-year-old girl at the shop. And the time, you're at the time at communism, you were at the time after the Second World War, the queues at the shop were very, very long. So she told the little girl, oh, the queue is too long. Come to my place, I'll show you some comic books and we'll come back when the queue goes down. And the little girl came. She took the little girl home. She showed her a comic book. She came from behind. She strangled her. And she sexually abused her. I'm gonna try not to be too graphic, not to say anything that would be unacceptable on YouTube. But let's say she was given oral sex, but we're talking a dead body. And to do that, she cut off their tongue. Then you can imagine the rest. I don't want to go into details, but and then she dropped the little body in a well. She had a well in the garden with a metal plaque over it. And then she met another little girl, a bit older, this one, a girl that was selling chicken. And she said, come to mine, I'm gonna buy the rest of your chicken. The little girl came home and she showed her a comic book. She came from behind and strangled her, and then the same. There were some sexual mutilation as well with carrots, so I mean, you can imagine. And then she actually dated another girl, 17 years of age, but then she realized that girl could snitch on her, so she killed her as well. She didn't abuse that one because she saw some signs of an STD. Piroshka was quite well aware of STDs because she had had quite a few herself, so did her mother. By the way, this type of abuse she also did to her little brother when he was alive. And then then another girl she met at the bus stop, and then another girl she met at the train station, when eventually there's a sex worker, 21 years old, so a bit older than her, that moved into town. And Piroshka stole her luggage, her suitcase. And that sex worker knew it was Piroshka. She was a petty criminal as well. She would, even the clothing of the poor little girls, she would sell it at the market and stuff. And obviously people in the village were starting to get very worried. They'll tell the police and everything, but the thing is, at the time, the Hungarian police, the thing is, there was a telephone station for the Soviet army in the village. So everyone suspected the Soviet army. But you couldn't interrogate them. You couldn't, the police was under the Soviets. So they could not investigate those guys anyway. And those guys were customers of Piroshka. So everyone suspected everyone. They also suspected the Romanians. They also suspected every other group. And eventually, that girl complained about the luggage, and Piroshka said, okay, I did steal it, come to mine, we'll discuss it. So she came to her place, and they must have talked, they must have drunk, and eventually that girl is, she's fallen asleep. That's when Piroshka attacked, that girl put up a big fight, and she managed to escape. She ran off and she told the police about the attack and about the suitcase. So the police came to look for the suitcase, and then they found a lot of items of clothing that would have belonged to the little victims. So that's when the police investigated a bit more. They searched everywhere. According to the police, the house was filthy. It was disgusting. You had rats everywhere, and when they got to the garden, they found the poor little bodies. Piroshka was arrested, of course. The mother went down for complicity as well. Piroshka did accuse her mother, and she said her mother also benefited from the crimes and from the items of clothing that were being sold and so on. But Piroshka was hanged at the age of 20 years old. She was hanged. But I'm sure she would have had a terrific childhood. But it's you've got some young ladies that can be horrible psychopaths as well. I don't think I've heard of any other case that was that shocking, really. And we've got some interesting ladies serial killer over here. There's one more I need to tell you about. Another lady, another psychopath. It's again Elizabeth Paps. We are in the late 1950s. She's the nicotine killer. Elizabeth, she's married to an alcoholic. He was a nice alcoholic. He was not violent with her by any means, but they were not. They were living at relatives. They had no money because, of course, he was drinking everything away. And Elizabeth wanted to stop it. She had enough of him. She didn't go for a divorce. No, she thought that was just much easier to murder him. But she didn't want to go for any type of murder. She wanted to murder him with nicotine. I didn't know, but apparently nicotine is very toxic in high quantities. So at first she bought some tobacco and she tried to boil it and extract the nicotine, but she realized they would have to drink liters of it, and of course they would taste it because it was like a murky liquid. So she contacted her sister, because her sister had a farm, and apparently you can use nicotine for pest control or something. Anyway, the sister said, no, this is really not the best way to kill rats. You should use something else. And she was like, no, I want nicotine. So she finally bought a bottle of nicotine liquid, and she wasn't quite sure how to use it. So she wasn't quite ready to kill her husband yet. Sadly, there's a little girl, a neighbor's 5 years old. She came to play they had like a little courtyard. She decided to give the baby, toddler, 5 years old, little girl, some wine with a bit of nicotine inside. The baby died straight away. The little girl died straight away. And so Algebet was like, good. She literally dropped the baby outside on the pavement. Allegedly, some people had seen it, or at least they told the police they'd seen it. But the authorities were like, no, it's influenza, it happens a lot, baby dies, and they kind of closed the case. They didn't even if they had done a proper autopsy, they would have found the alcohol, even if they don't look for nicotine. I mean, why would the baby be drunk? The father actually picked up the glass. People in the village actually accused Algebet already, and then Algebet was not quite ready to kill her husband yet. She went to see a friend of hers that had gossiped about her. Apparently, she was talking shite about her. So she went to see her friend with a bottle of palinka. It's it's a local liquor. It's like a fruit brandy, really. So she pretended to come and make it up with her friend. She gave her a drink. The friend drank it and died straight away. Apparently, nicotine is very quick. And the authorities again didn't see anything suspicious with that death. They found the nicotine in her body, but they thought, because the friend was pregnant, they thought that the lady had tried to induce herself a miscarriage, because there was no contraception, of course, at the time. So they thought she was trying to have an illegal abortion. So they put it down as self-poisoning. So Algebet was not accused again. Then finally she decided to kill her husband. And that was the original target, remember? The husband, he was an alcoholic, but he was actually a decent guy. He was inviting her for dates and stuff. So he had taken her on a date to a restaurant by a lake. They had a lovely day. And he had a glass of wine at the restaurant. She put the nicotine inside. He died. Would you believe they put it down as alcohol poisoning because he was an alcoholic? And Algebet played innocent. She went to the police. She was like, oh, you should investigate some more. I don't believe this is alcohol. And apparently the police said to her, well, you try to drink a liter of wine, my love, and you see what happens. And so Algebet was not inculpated once again. And after that, she married again. She met a guy, she married very quickly. She tried to kill him as well, but he resisted. He didn't drink the stuff. He left her, but he didn't tell the police. Then after that, she started to date a gypsy. That was a bad rep for the family. Her family disowned her, and she had a fight with her sister. Then eventually the family decided to bring her back into the will, and she made up with her sister, yet she decided to kill her as well. And she, same thing, she went to visit the sister in the same little town actually where the blood contest was from, in the east, all the way, almost in Transylvania. So she went to see her sister. She gave her some palinka. The sister died straight away. And again, the police didn't see anything suspicious. But people in her village started to talk. And at the time, when you had a bottle of alcohol, you'd have to bring it back to the shop, because before mass production of glass, you'd bring it back and they'll wash it and they'll reuse it. Clearly, the shop did not do a good job at cleaning it, because the next customers, they were the local teacher. They bought a bottle of palinka and they felt very, very sick. They actually believed it was poison, because everyone in the village was starting to gossip about Algebet. And finally, eventually, they told the shopkeeper to keep the bottle and give it to the police. And finally, they could prove that it was the bottle that she had given back to the shop that contained nicotine. She was arrested. At first, she denied, but eventually she admitted it. She was hanged in 1962. So another crazy lady killer. Now let's cross over when we can. Now there's one other killer you probably would have heard of that I need to tell you about before we go. and that'll be my last one for tonight. This one was indeed in Budapest. Well, in Budapest today. At the time it was a little village outside. He was from Shinkota. His name is Béla Kiss. So it's spelled kiss, like a kiss, but I believe locally you pronounce Kish, so Béla Kiss. We are going back to the time just before the First World War, and Béla was a young man. Actually, let me show you Béla. That's Béla young and Béla a bit older. So he was a sexy young man. It is said that he had been married once to a girl much younger, but she had run off to America, allegedly. And then he met another young girl, but she'd met another guy, and they'd left him. They'd run away as well, both of them. And eventually, because he was alone again, he didn't know how to cook, so he hired. Let me remove this photo. He hired like a housekeeper. He didn't really have his own accommodation. He lived in some kind of a shared housing. So he had some flatmates. He had a back garden, and he demanded the full use of the back garden. He didn't want the flatmates to go in there. In the back garden, he had some big drums in which he stored some petrol, because he thought the war was coming. He thought there'll be some restrictions, so he wanted to store some petrol. And the First World War eventually started. The housekeeper, she didn't sleep with him in his bedroom. She was not allowed in the bedroom. She'd sleep on the kitchen floor, really. At the very beginning of the war, he wasn't called in quite yet, because he was, I think, 37, so he didn't go straight away. But then eventually the authorities decided to call more men, so he had to go to join the infantry. He said to the housekeeper, if I was to die, there's a box in my bedroom, you go and give it to the town hall. And eventually in 1966, he did die, so it was said. So the message came that he had died in what is today Serbia. And so the landlord was gonna want to rent the bedroom again, you know. The landlord came actually with some guys they wanted to do some work to refurbish the house before to rent it again, and before to go to the shop they wanted to check what was there in terms of, I don't know, paint or whatever stuff they would need for the work. And they ended up looking at those big drums in the garden, like big containers. They were sealed, very well sealed, but they punched a hole in one of them, and a horrible, disgusting smell came out. So they suspected foul play. They suspected dead bodies. Someone wants to be on camera. You've missed it. Sorry, I wasn't framing the car because I usually don't frame people, but someone was pulling a naughty face. Anyway, they found bodies in the drums, 7 bodies. Very often, when there are a lot of movies and documentaries. Very often they say that they found a male body, and they believe that the couple he had killed his ex and her boyfriend. Apparently, that's not true. All the bodies were ladies. There were 7 bodies. There were more drums, so they suspected many more victims, but they found only 7 bodies. And the bedroom in which the housekeeper was not allowed to go, she went eventually. She found the box to give to the authorities, and they found letters that he had been writing to 74 ladies with money, ladies usually a little bit older than him. What they realized is that he had started many years before. He had started like 15 years before. Hello. Placing ads in the newspaper in the Lonely Heart section, that he was widowed and he was looking for a new wife, a wife with some some money as well. You know, at the time you didn't really mix. You wanted, if you had money yourself, you wanted someone from the same social background, really. And he had defrauded some of them. He would ask them to come with money. Actually, some of them had started legal actions against him because they'd been defrauded money, but it never went any further, because what happened is they never turned up at the court trial. Obviously, they were probably dead, that was it. You know, as far as they knew, he was dead anyway. They suspected many more victims. I mean, he was writing to 74. They identified a few of the 7, not even all. Some remained unidentified. But yeah, the MO was to post an ad, invite them for a date. Sometimes he would have a few dates, but he would try to make sure they'll bring some money, and eventually they'll spend the night together. He was asking them to marry them and everything, to marry him, and then he'll kill them. Now, the question is, was he really dead? You know, at the time it was fairly easy to swap your identity with another soldier. You just catch any dead soldier, you take his papers, you put your papers in his pockets or in his bag or whatever, and that was it. A lot of people believe that he did not die, and actually he was spotted everywhere. He was spotted in Austria, he was spotted in France. He became a bit like a Lord Lucan in the UK. Or Xavier Dupont de Ligonnès in France, you know, everyone sees him everywhere. The guy that killed all his family in Nantes. So yeah, he was spotted everywhere. One of the sightings was 29 years later in New York City. But there had been a few sightings actually in New York City, and one of them was a police officer that had a great memory in terms of facial recognition and stuff. So maybe he might have lived in New York for many years. He might have a lot of descendants in New York. So who knows? Yes, exactly. Well, you know what, Caroline, apparently the flatmate, he did say that sometimes he heard some ladies screaming in the middle of the night, that sometimes he'd be waken up by some ladies screaming, but he never really did anything about it. I mean, no one, when the news came, you know, when they found the bodies and stuff, none of the neighbors believed it. Apparently, he was a lovely young man, a charming young man. It is often, we know now, it's often the case with psychopaths and serial killers. You know, sometimes they're the most normal and the most lovely people. Iconic bear fashion. I don't know about this bear fashion, but that's cute. So yeah, that was the story of Béla Kiss for you. Another crazy case. And that's gonna be the end of the tour. Let me know in the chat if you have any questions for me before we go. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for sticking with me till the end as well. And if you want to see a bit more of me, I'm taking you to Ireland in a couple of weeks. So again, we'll have some interesting dark tales, and another tale that's not even dark at all. A fascinating case in Malahide. It's the coast just north of Dublin. So make sure you join that one, because that's a crazy story as well. But no murders in this. Well, actually, there'll be one murder as well, but only one. So that's one to look forward to as well. Thank you, Sam. I didn't even see you there. Thanks everyone for coming tonight. Let me show you my face again. And so I'm going to Slovenia tomorrow. I'll be there for a couple of days. I'm not doing any lives, but I'll be doing a video, or maybe a couple of videos. So make sure you subscribe to my channel to make sure you don't miss out. To make sure you don't miss out on the fun next time. And And if any of you dropped me a little tip on PayPal or on Buy Me a Coffee, that's very much appreciated. It's really thanks to your generosity that I can spend more time researching new stories and on new routes and all that. Thanks, Ronnie. Thanks, Emma. Thanks, Larak. Thank you. And if any of you are new to me, hopefully you'll subscribe for more live tours next time. The best way to see those lives is to subscribe, because if you don't, they're easy to miss. Yes, exactly. Nowadays, but you know, it takes a lot of balls to accuse somebody of anything. You know, like, because sometimes, especially if you're the only one witnessing, if you're the only one witnessing something, you're more likely to act that if there are other witnesses and no one seems to react. So you just, you know, so even with the little Piroshka, it's pretty obvious her mum would have known. You know, it happened under her roof. So yeah. Anyway, thank you guys. I'm gonna get going because I need to save my international data for Ireland. Have a great evening or a great morning, whatever time it is for you, wherever you are in the world. And I'll see you soon. Bye bye. Have a good one. Oops. There we go.